Hello and welcome to another episode of the Central District Hoops Report. I'm your host, Justin Griffiths, and in this episode, with the second round of round robins starting in the Central District, we start to see what these teams are really made out of between round one and round two. Also, we have a couple of upsets, and will Olney finally get their first district win? All that and more in this episode of the Central District Hoops Report. For now, let's go ahead and jump into the game, starting with Lakeland and Kaskaskia. And actually, before we get into the Kaskaskia versus Lakeland, this game did take place Monday, February 3rd. Olney Central versus Southwestern Illinois. And again, this was actually going on as I was filming last week's episode. And again, SWIC beats Olney Central. I know when we were watching it, Olney had a big lead. SWIC was able to overcome that. They won the first half 46-31, won the second half 48-41. Looking at the numbers here, SWIC was 39 of 72, good for 54% from the field, while Olney was 24 of 67, 35.8%. Both teams hit 10 threes. Olney Central was 10 of 30, while SWIC was 10 of 21. SWIC left 5 points at the charity stripe at 6 for 11. However, Olney left 4 at 14 of 18. Again, didn't really matter too much as SWIC was able to win the rebounding battle 47-33. However, Olney Central did only turn the ball over 14 times while forcing SWIC into 16 turnovers. Individual-wise, Coach Harrington's team had 4 players in double figures, 3 of them with 15 points. Lee Williams, 7 of 14 shooting. Julio Regato, 7 of 9 shooting. And Daquan Little, 6 of 12 shooting. Again, all with 15 points. Regato had 12 rebounds, while Little had 2, but had 3 steals. And Lee Williams had 5 rebounds as well as a blocked shot. Dylan Craven was 4 of 6 from the field, 3 of 3 from behind the arc, had 12 assists to go along with 6 rebounds. He finished with 11 points, being the 4th Blue Storm member in the starting lineup to hit double figures. Braden Klein was 4 of 8 from the field, 2 of 5 from behind the arc, and 2 of 3 from the foul stripe. Had 4 rebounds, 6 assists. He finished with 12 points off the bench for Coach Harrington's team. For Coach Levina, again, Jaleel Bethea put his team on his back and was 8 of 18 from the field, 4 of 7 from behind the arc, and 7 of 10 from the foul line. Grabbed 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and had 2 steals. He finished with 27 points. Kasim Nash was 3 of 15, 1 of 9 from behind the arc. He finished with 10 points, had 3 assists, and 3 rebounds as well. Avian Morris was 4 of 11 from the field, all 4 of them being from behind the arc, where he was 4 of 8, had 2 rebounds and 2 assists. He finished with 12 points. Again, just a bad game for Olney Central as they looked really good in the first part. Just couldn't get it going after the under 10 timeout. SWIC took control and never looked back. Javon Jones came off the bench. Good to see him back in action. He was 4 of 7 from the field and had 10 points, but had 4 big block shots. However, once again, SWIC able to win this game, going away 94-72 in favor of the Blue Storm, picking up the huge win. Lakeland looking to continue to play good basketball here against Kaskaskia in Centralia. They won the first meeting between these two teams, 114-86, and they were able to do so here again today, winning this one 91-79. In the first half, they led 46-40 and able to extend that out a little bit better, winning the second half 45-39. And again, Lakeland starting to play really good basketball. Their up-tempo has really proved problems for some teams. Other teams, they're starting to figure that out as well. But let's go ahead and look at the numbers here. Lakeland, as a team, shot 35 of 63, good for 55.6% from the field. They have been hitting 50% in 2 of the last 3 games. And to be able to do it again here against Kaskaskia is huge. Kaskaskia, on the other hand, shot relatively well, respectfully, 30 of 78 for 38.5% from the field. It was 3-point land for Kaskaskia that kept them in this one, as they shot 8 of 22 from the 3, while Lakeland, on the other hand, was 6 of 14, good for 43% compared to 36 for Kaskaskia. Both teams did not leave that many points at the charity stripe. Lakeland was 15 of 19, while Kaskaskia was 11 of 13. The rebounding battle favored the Blue Devils 41-34. However, the turnover battle was knotted up at 16. And again, it's one of these weird times where you look at the rebounding and the turnover battle, and it favors one team over the other, and that team still ends up losing. It's just the fact that Lakeland shot over 50% from the field, and you can't do too much about that. You were able to get the rebounds when you needed them. You turned the ball over as many times as you got the turnover, so I mean, if you cut down on that, maybe you cut down on the shooting percentage. But again, Lakeland was just hot in this game. And so that's why they pull out the big victory here against Kaskaskia. For the Lakers themselves, they were led by Samuel Hincapie, who was 9 of 13 shooting, good for 22 points. Was also had 5 rebounds, 4 of them being on the offensive side. Had 1 assist and 1 steal. While Peyton Weimer was 4 of 11, 2 of 4 from behind the arc, grabbed 11 rebounds, had 3 steals and 2 block shots. He finished with 14. And the final starter for Coach Larry's team was Devin Woods, 4 of 6 from the field, had 2 rebounds but 9 assists right there. That was huge for them. He finished with 11 points. Off the bench, Joshua Bryant and Sean Dekonovich were the leading scorers for the Lakers. Bryant was 5 of 9 and had 7 rebounds with 4 block shots, leading the team with 14 points. And Dekonovich was 7 of 10 shooting from the field, had 4 assists and 3 rebounds, just doing Sean Dekonovich things. He finished with 16 points. For Coach Hancock's team, it was Markel Newsom leading the way. 8 of 17 shooting, 6 of 11 from behind the arc, and having 11 assists to go along with 5 rebounds for a game-high 24 points. Lionel Hodge also had 17 points off of an 8 of 18 shooting performance and grabbing 9 rebounds. He also had 3 steals and 2 blocks. And Miles Liddell was the final Blue Devil in double figures, 5 of 13 shooting with 11 points. Off the bench, it was Jared Mackey, 7 of 18 shooting, 2 of 4 from behind the arc, grabbing 7 rebounds, 1 assist, and 4 steals, leading the team off the bench with 19 points. However, once again, only playing 9 players was Kaskaskia. Lakeland played the same amount, but they got a lot more help off their bench than Kaskaskia did. But again, just you played great. And most of the time, if you out-rebound your team and you don't leave points at the stripe and you are 35% plus from 3-point, you're going to win the game. Unfortunately, when your opponent shoots 55%, there's not much you can really do. They forced tough shots. They forced tough plays in general. It was just the fact that Lakeland was just able to hit their shots when they needed it the most and pull out the huge victory. Up next, we have the SWIC Blue Storm taking on Rend Lake College in this matchup in Belleville. SWIC was able to win the opening round game in Ina 92-87 in overtime. And this one proved to be another classic between these two teams. SWIC actually led at the break 43-36 before Rend Lake went on a run and scored 51 points in the second half to finish with an 87-83 victory in Belleville against the Blue Storm. Looking at the numbers here, we have Rend Lake, who shot 28 of 65 from the field, good for 43.1%. SWIC was 31 of 60, good for 51.7%. Again, SWIC being hot, they're getting hot at the right time, and it just needs to be said that they are playing good basketball at this point. However, the biggest thing here was the fact that Rend Lake was on fire from deep, 12 of 24 from behind the arc, while SWIC was 3 of 13. But that's not SWIC's game, honestly. SWIC did leave a lot of points at the free throw line, 18 of 27. Rend Lake did not. They were 19 of 22. Rend Lake did out-rebound SWIC 36 to 34, and again, turnover battle was the same at 15. But again, I look at this, and it was 12 made three-pointers for Rend Lake that carried them over SWIC. That's how you counter this right here, the 51, almost 52% from the field. You hit 50% from behind the arc. Twos are worth more than threes, and Rend Lake proved that here. Speaking of the Warriors, they were led by Roland Adams, who was 7 of 14 from the field, 6 of 10 from deep, finishing with 22 points, had 4 rebounds and 1 steal. Ezekiel Wilson was in double figures and had a double-double, 6 of 13 from the field, 3 of 3 from behind the arc, had 10 rebounds and an assist to go along with 2 block shots. He finished with 17 points. Elijah Edozo was 7 of 12 from the field, had 9 rebounds, almost a double-double for himself. He finished with 18 points. Devontae Nesbitt, 3 of 10 from the field, the worst shooting performance of the Warriors that were in double figures starter-wise. He finished with 11 points off of 3, having 3 rebounds and 9 assists as well. Gavin Bigham was the big key player off the bench for the Warriors. He finished with 7 points off of a 2 of 3 shooting performance. For Coach Harrington's team, it was Julio Regato, who was 7 of 10 from the field, had 16 points, along with Lee Williams, who also had 16 points, off of 5 of 8 from the field. Both players were perfect from the stripe. And again, in a place where SWIC left 9 points at the stripe, you cannot blame Lee Williams or Regato there. Williams had 3 rebounds and an assist and 2 steals, while Regato had 3 rebounds and an assist. Those were the only 2 scorers or starters in double figures for Coach Harrington's Blue Storm. Dylan Craven did lead the team in assists with 9 off of a 2 of 5 shooting performance, having 6 points. Daquan Little had 6 points, 2 of 6, 1 of 3 from deep, and had 3 assists and 3 steals. Off the bench, it was Matthew Kupru-Elzy, who was 7 of 9 shooting from the field, had 9 rebounds, 1 assist, and 2 turnovers. He finished with 15 points. Zach Chambers was close to being in double figures, 3 of 4 from the field, with 9 points and 3 rebounds. Once again, it was just the fact that Rend Lake goes 12 of 24, while you as a team go 31 of 60. And again, just tough break for SWIC. Again, they're playing really good basketball. Rend Lake just played a little bit better on this night and picked up a huge win in GRAC play. Up next, we have the Vincennes Trailblazers taking on Lincoln Trail, and in this game, it was great in the first half for Lincoln Trail, as they led at the half 34 to 31 for the first time in a long time. The Trailblazers trailed at the half. Lincoln Trail started out hot, and they stayed hot. However, I will say that there is a one time in the game where things got a little bit chippy between the two teams, and in Coach Franklin's opinion, after everything was settled down, no other chippiness happened. I tend to agree with that. The referees here did a great job getting together, talking about what transpired, and no, I'm not going to show what transpired. I respect both coaches way too much to do that. Let's just say it was unsportsmanlike. Both programs are not like that, and leave it at that. The referees got together. This is where I believe that the NJCAA needs to have some sort of review type system for these referees to go to instead of having them just talk to one another. Again, these referees did a great job. They got it right. However, if one or two of these referees aren't in position like they're supposed to be, it changes the outcome of this ball game, in my opinion. So I personally believe that there needs to be like what they do for the NCAA. I don't know how you implement it, but get a video reboard or video so these refs can look at what transpired. If that means having to hire a couple people to do it, I don't know. That's just my opinion on how they can make this game better, because it's all about making sure these calls are right for these officials. They don't want to be a part of a conspiracy. And look, like I said, these referees did a great job. Let's go ahead and look at the numbers before I go on a whole different tangent of referees doing their jobs properly. Michael White led the way for Lincoln Trail. He was 11 of 21 shooting for 29 points, had 7 rebounds as well as 3 assists, while Jared Jackson had 2 points. He had 3 offensive rebounds out of his 4 and had 6 assists. Ty Williams was 7 of 13 shooting, 3 of 4 from behind the arc, had 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 18 points. Gabe Omoreji was 5 of 12 shooting, had 9 rebounds, 1 assist, and he finished with 11 points. However, for Coach Cotton's team, those were the only 3 players in double figures, and any of those 3 that really sniffed double figures. Christian Johnson was semi-close coming off the bench, adding 6 points off of a 3 of 3 shooting performance. For Coach Franklin's squad, it was Dayton Williams, who was 8 of 18 shooting, 2 of 5 from behind the arc, and had 10 rebounds for 22 points, leading the way for the Trailblazers starters. Michael Cooper had an off night, only had a single point, but again, he did a lot of things that isn't going to be shown on the scorecard. Brian Akanmu, again, 6 points off of 1 of 5 shooting performance, grabbing 3 rebounds and 6 points. LeBron Thomas, not in double figures, he was close, 1 of 3 and 6 of 7 from the foul line, grabbing 3 rebounds and 4 assists and 2 steals as well. He finished with 8 points. Jalen Callaway was 7 of 9 shooting, 4 of 6 from behind the arc off the bench for Coach Franklin's team. He had 6 rebounds and 3 assists for 19 points. Travell Bryson also coming off the bench, 5 of 9 from the field, 4 of 6 from behind the arc. He's really starting to find his stroke as well, 16 points for him. Hussein Elmireji was 9 of 11 shooting, had 7 rebounds and 4 assists, finishing with a second team high of 19 points off the bench along with Jalen Callaway. So again, a scuffle derailed what was a very competitive game for both teams. Vincennes took over after that, but Michael White tried to keep this a game as much as possible, but Vincennes just pulls out the huge victory here. These next 2 games will have a common theme with them, and that is overtime, as Shawnee traveled to Olney to take on the Blue Knights, and this game was fantastic. Right up to the final horn of overtime, where Shawnee kind of took over that extra period, winning 71-69 in this one. Both teams were tied at 31 after the first half. Both teams were tied at 62 after regulation. It was just Shawnee that was able to hit a couple shots in the 5-minute period to pull away from Olney late. Olney did hit a 3-pointer right at the buzzer to make this a 2-point ball game. Shawnee again led by as many as 5 in the overtime period. Let's go ahead and look at this 45-minute game. Shawnee shot 27 of 59 from the field, good for 45.8%, while Olney was 24 of 71, good for 33.8%. Olney hit 6 threes, but took 32 of them for 18.8%. Ouch. Shawnee wasn't much better, however, 4 of 14 shooting, good for 28.6. Shawnee left 5 points at the stripe, 13 of 18. Olney left 2, 15 of 17. Shawnee out-rebounded the Blue Knights, 38-36. However, the Blue Knights won the turnover battle, 11 to 14. For Coach Sparks' team, you were led by Johnny Anderson, 9 of 18 shooting, had 10 defensive rebounds, 12 rebounds total, and he finished with 25 points. Xavier Bell was 8 of 16 from the field, had 5 rebounds and 2 assists, finishing with 16 points. And Kashawn Washington was 4 of 11 from the field, had 10 assists and 12 points. However, they didn't have much of a bench game, as Isaac Hossman was the closest one with 2 of 3 for 6 points for Coach Sparks' team. Olney Central was led by Jaleel Bethea once again, 7 of 24, shooting 3 of 13 from behind the arc, grabbed 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and 4 steals to finish with 21 points. Kassam Nash finding his way on his own, 3 of 13 shooting, 1 of 7 from behind the arc, had 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and finished with 10 points. Caden Miller was close to being in double figures, not quite there yet. 4 of 7 shooting, finished with 8 points. Javon Jones off the bench, once again, great to see him putting in his work. 4 of 8 shooting, 1 of 2 from behind the arc. 4 rebounds, 1 assist, and he finished with 17 points. Again, this was a really close game for both teams. Both teams needed the win. Shawnee to stay in step with teams like Lakeland, Vincennes, and Logan, while Olney still looking for their first win in district play. Still elusive of them, but they were really close in this one. Well, John A. Logan took on Wabash Valley in Mount Carmel, and once again, this was an overtime thriller for both teams. Logan looking to come off of their loss against Vincennes, while Wabash Valley looking to build momentum after their win against SWIC. Logan trailed 34-35 at the break, and was really able to do a lot of good things here in Mount Carmel. They were 31 of 62 from the field, and but again, Wabash Valley just able to hang in there, and after the game got tied, was able to extend it and take control in the extra 5-minute period, and pull out a big victory for Wabash Valley. There are no stats for the Warriors, so that is why this is going to be a shorter segment than usual. John A. Logan, however, did have some scores that I will highlight, although you won't see the screen record. Devarius Lowry was 8 of 15, good for 20 points. Marcus Eves had 16 points off of a 6 of 9 shooting performance. And Taylor Smith was in double figures for Coach Smith Peters' team with 12 points off of a 3 of 10 shooting performance. Lowry also had 11 rebounds. Smith had 9 rebounds as well. Off the bench, it was Darkel Payne, who was 4 of 6 from the field, having 14 points and 2 rebounds for the Volunteers. Again, they just fall a little bit short in this one. However, it was very entertaining to watch. And if we see a round 3 in Ina, just like I said for Vincennes Logan, this will go down to the wire between Wabash and Logan. Moving into Saturday's slate of games, we have Shawnee hosting Lincoln Trail. Lincoln Trail looking to come off that loss of Vincennes, while Shawnee looking to extend their winning streak after a huge win against Olney Central in overtime. And this one as well came down to the buzzer as Shawnee was able to win 65-60. Again, Shawnee led by 3 at the break, 32-29, and able to extend it a little bit with a 33-31 second half victory there for the 5-point victory. Looking at the numbers, Lincoln Trail was 22 of 58 shooting, good for 37.9%, while Shawnee was 21 of 55, good for 38.2%. Both teams were 6 of 22 from behind the arc and tied in the rebounding battle. However, Lincoln Trail had 2 more turnovers than Shawnee at 11 and 9. For the starters, for Coach Cotton's team, 4 statesmen were in double figures, led by Gabe Omareji. 7 of 14 shooting, had 9 rebounds, 6 of them being on the defensive side and having 17 points. Marlon Bennett was next. Actually, it was Michael White next. 6 of 13, 1 of 5 from behind the arc, grabbing 6 assists and 4 rebounds, finishing with 13 points. Then we have Marlon Bennett, who was 3 of 10 from behind the arc, grabbing 6 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1 steal to go along with 11 points. And Ja'Cory Phillips leading the way, rounding out the scoring for Lincoln Trail starter-wise in double figures. 3 of 11 shooting, 1 of 4 from behind the arc, having 5 rebounds as well as 3 blocked shots. He finished with 10 points. And unfortunately for Coach Cotton's team, he had nobody off the bench that put in significant numbers. Belcher here had 2 free throws, and that was it. So huge not having any bench play here. For Shawnee, you had 4 players in double figures as well, led by Johnny Anderson, who was 6 of 13, 2 of 7 from behind the arc, had 8 rebounds to go along with 18 points. Then you have James DeLoche, who was 4 of 8 from the field, 1 of 2 from behind the arc, had 8 rebounds as well. He finished with 12 points. Xavier Bell was up next with 4 of 10, good for 11 points. He also grabbed 7 rebounds, had 2 assists, and 3 steals to go along with it. And Kashawn Washington rounding out the leading scores for Shawnee with a 3 of 7 performance, good for 10 points, having 4 assists, 2 steals, and 3 rebounds. Coach Park's team didn't have anybody off the bench either. However, they got a little bit more production. And you see, when both teams shooting about the same amount, bench play becomes huge. 2 points for Lincoln Trail, 6 for Shawnee, with the difference being 5. It really shows here. And again, big win for Shawnee, but it was a close one, and it's going to be very interesting as these 2 teams turn around, head to Robinson, Illinois, and face each other Wednesday night. Then you have SWIC taking on Vincennes for a senior night for the Trailblazers for the cheer and dance team. Unfortunately, SWIC does not have their stats up in this one, so just going off memory, Vincennes led from opening tip to final horn in this one, winning 75-58. Vincennes led at the half 36-21, and it was pretty even in the second half, 37-39 in favor of the Trailblazers there. But once again, I had a doubleheader in my broadcasting day, and I was just getting home and having to run other errands for the Super Bowl. So I'm relying heavily on stats for Saturday's slate. But again, if I don't have stats from the NJCAA, I don't have them. So I do remember catching bits and pieces of this game. However, LeBron Thomas had a solid game. Not shooting-wise, he was 3 of 7, but from the foul stripe, he was 8 of 10. He had 14 assists and 5 steals. He finished with 14 points. Travell Bryson, once again, having a great day. He got the start instead of Michael Cooper. He was 5 of 8 from the field, 4 of 5 from deep, having 6 rebounds as well. He, too, finished with 14 points. Hussein Elmareji back into the starting lineup for Coach Franklin's team. He was 5 of 10 shooting, had 7 rebounds, and he had 10 points as well. Brian Akamu was close to being in double figures with 8 points off of a 4 of 7 shooting night. He had 2 block shots, 4 fouls. For Vincennes, Michael Cooper came off the bench, being close in double figures. with 3 of 3 from the field, 1 for 1 from behind the arc, and 5 rebounds. He finished with 7. Kanazo Chugwu had 5 points as well. He grabbing 2 rebounds, 2 of 3 shooting performance. Overall, for Vincennes, a very balanced scoring night. Nobody really dominated the stat sheet with the exception of LeBron in the assist category. Great all-around team win for Vincennes. They pick up their 15th straight win. And again, they're looking really good in the polling. They were in the top 10, and they are still in the top 10 at number 7 in this week's polls. Now you have Lakeland against Olney Central. In the first matchup between these two teams, they combined for over 230 points. This one, only 173, as Lakeland wins this game 100-73. Lakeland led by 9 at the break at 45-36 and able to extend that a little bit further, scoring 55 points in the second half compared to Olney Central's 37. Once again, I think it was just the lactic acid building up in Olney's legs, plus having to play 3 games, plus only having 7 players on the bench. Really tough to win those types of games. But again, Olney kept it relatively close in the first half, just not able to pull out in the second half. Looking at the team's stats, they didn't shoot poorly from the field at 42.6%. However, Lakeland was just a little bit better at 52.7%. Olney did leave 7 free throws on the floor, 6 of 13 from there, while Lakeland was 14 of 18. Both teams did not shoot the ball well from behind the arc. Lakeland netted 8 threes, 8 of 24, good for 33.3%, while Olney was 9 of 29, good for 31%. Again, that looks very impressive, but you're having to take 29 and 24 threes to make 8 and 9 respectively. It's a double-edged sword there. Rebounding-wise, Lakeland won that 42-39 and won the turnover battle 11-17. Coach Levina's team was led by none other than, well, Jalil Bethea was one of the leading scorers. However, it was Javon Jones leading the way for the Blue Knights. 12 of 19 shooting, 3 of 6 from behind the arc, having 10 rebounds and 2 assists, finishing with a game-high 31 points. Jalil Bethea, once again, double figures with 24 points off of a 10 of 22 shooting performance, grabbing 4 rebounds, having 4 assists, and 2 steals as well. Those 2 were your biggest scorers. Kasim Nash did have 7 points as a starter, but if it wasn't Bethea, it was Jones scoring 90% of your points for Coach Levina. For Lakeland, you were more spread out, having 4 starters in double figures and 2 off the bench in double figures. Starting with the starters, it was Stevie Tatum, 6 of 9 shooting performance, grabbing 6 rebounds and 17 points. Peyton Weimer was 4 of 11 for 14 points, also grabbing 6 rebounds and 2 assists. Samuel Hincapie and Johnny Jones were similar, 5 of 8 for Hincapie, and Jones was 4 of 8. Jones was 3 of 7 from behind the arc, both finishing with 11 points. Off the bench, it was Sean Dukonovich leading the way, 7 of 10 shooting for him, grabbing 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals, finishing with 15. And Joshua Bryant was the final leading scorer, 6 of 10 shooting, grabbing 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocked shots, finishing with 13 points. Again, Olney just had a tough week. 3 games in a week is always tough, with only 1 day to rest in between. I give them tremendous credit of sticking in here and battling it out for the rest of the year. Going to be very interesting to see what happens. Lakeland keeps pace with Vincennes with this win, however, at 3 games back in district standings. John A. Logan against Kaskaskia, where Logan and the Blue Devils were tied at the break at 42. However, Logan had a huge second half, winning the second half 49-32 for the 91-74 victory. Here, again, both teams played really, really well. As we look at these numbers, John A. was 56.6%, while Kaskaskia was 10% less at 46.6%. Good for 27 of 58 for the Blue Devils. John A. was 30 of 53. Logan was 7 of 13 from behind the arc, while Kaskaskia was 6 of 18. Logan left 9 points at the charity stripe, while Kaskaskia left 3. However, the rebounds and the turnover battles favor the Volunteers for this one. And again, if you are able to win one of those and make, or at least tie one of those, this game gets a little bit closer. Again, it was tied at half, so I can't fault Kaskaskia too much for how they played. Again, Logan just played mad, and I mean they had their first two game losing streak in a while, and so this Logan team is what I expected to see against Wabash Valley. However, you see it against Kaskaskia, and unfortunate for Coach Hancock's team, but it's these types of teams that you play once we get closer to Ina. So again, big kudos to them for hanging in there for a half. And I do expect them to be able to hang in the next time they play each other. But going ahead and talking about individual scores, Darkel Payne, 7 of 9 from the field, 4 of 5 from behind the arc, led the way with 23 points for John A. Marcus Eves, 4 of 8 from the field, a perfect 10 for 10 at the line, had 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and a steal, good for 18 points. Jaden Miles was 5 of 10 and 5 of 6 from the free throw line. Having 5 rebounds himself, he finished with 15 points. Coach Smith Peters got Darian Rucker off the bench, 5 of 6 shooting, 1 of 1 from behind the arc, finishing with 13 points. He had 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. Coach Hancock's team had 3 players in double figures, starter-wise, led by Markel Newsom, 8 of 18 off of a 2 of 8 from behind the arc. Also grabbed 2 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal. He finished with a team-high 19. Terrell Galbraith was 5 of 9, 3 of 6 from behind the arc, and finished with 13 points. He also had 3 rebounds and 2 assists. And finally, Jared Mackey, 3 of 9 shooting, finishing with 11 points, having 3 rebounds, 1 assist as well. Dallas Harding Fair was the closest Kaskaskia Blue Devil to be in double digits without being in double digits. He finished with 7 points off of a 2-2 shooting performance and 3 of 3 from the free throw line, grabbing 3 rebounds as well. Again, Kaskaskia played really well. You shoot 46% from the field and 33% from behind the arc. It's just hard when the opponent shoots 57% from the field and 53% from behind the arc. But again, you stuck with them for a half, and you're able to pull out, stay competitive with them for most of that second half. Logan just was able to pull away late in the game, as they typically tend to do. Before I talk about the district standings, I do want to say that Wabash Valley did play Rend Lake on Saturday, but again, I was double booked, having a double header for my broadcasting, so I was not able to watch the game, and unfortunately, there were no stats for either team posted on NJCAA.org. So for those reasons, I can't talk about a game that I wasn't able to watch due to me being double booked on a broadcasting Saturday, having to run errands before the Super Bowl, and then watching the Super Bowl Sunday night. So I apologize to Wabash Valley and Rend Lake for not being able to dive into that game. But at the same time, I was happy to see that this was a close victory for Rend Lake because they are playing really good basketball, Wabash was able to stick with them and just fall a little bit short at home. And before we jump into this week's slate of games, as condensed as it is, let's go ahead and check out the district standings here. Vincennes leads the way at 11-0. Shawnee and Logan staying with them at 8-3. Lakeland in third place at 7-3. Shawnee, after a very good week, is at 6-4. Wabash Valley at 5-5 after that big one against Logan. Then you have SWIC at 4-5. Lincoln Trail at 3-7. Kaskaskia at 2-8. And Olney Central at 0-11. So once again, a condensed week for the district, as this was the built-in, if you have a cancellation game between district opponents, this is where this game will get slotted in. So we actually have two matchups for this on Wednesday. And the first game on the docket is going to be Lincoln Trail hosting Shawnee Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, this game was really close when these two teams matched up on Saturday. A 65-60 victory in favor of the Saints. I mean, I see this going one of two ways. I see Lincoln Trail getting a little bit of revenge, or Shawnee keeping pace with Vincennes and with Shawnee and with Lakeland and pulling out a victory here. I mean, they are 3 games behind, or 1 game behind Lakeland. They're 4 games behind Vincennes, and they need this win badly. However, Lincoln Trail needs this win because they are in a slide of their own, trying to battle for possibly a 6th seed. Right now, they're sitting at the 7th seed, just a game ahead of Kaskaskia, avoiding that play-in. So I think because this is in Robinson, I'll give it to Lincoln Trail. However, with how good Saturday's game turned out to be between these two, I wouldn't be surprised if Shawnee pulls out the upset. The other Wednesday game is Kaskaskia against SWIC. Again, Kaskaskia is a game behind Lincoln Trail, so if the Saints pull out a victory and Kaskaskia is somehow able to pull out a victory against SWIC, then we are looking at an interesting situation between Kaskaskia and Lincoln Trail. Again, both teams trying to avoid playing in that play-in game for the 2nd straight year. That's going to be interesting to see. But between Kaskaskia and SWIC, I think SWIC is going to have the advantage in this one. Now, they are playing a game Monday night right now against Brescia JV, so I don't know if that actually favors them or not. Again, they're getting into this trope of having to face a Monday, Wednesday, Saturday type of game like Olney had to last week. So it really depends if SWIC's able to come back after their game against Brescia and able to pick up a win, or is Kaskaskia able to come in. Actually, they're hosting, so if SWIC's able to come in and win, or if Kaskaskia is able to hold home court. I will say that I do have Kaskaskia winning this game because it's the 2nd game in 3 days for SWIC, and it's at Kaskaskia, and we've seen the top portion of the district struggle in Centralia. So, I mean, it's going to be very interesting. I do have Kaskaskia winning this matchup, however. Then we move into Saturday's slate of games, being Lincoln Trail hosting Wabash Valley in this one. Again, it's going to be very interesting as Wabash Valley is looking to possibly go as high as a 2 seed in the standings when everything is said and done, while Lincoln Trail, again, is trying to stay out of that play-in for the 2nd straight year. The first matchup in Mount Carmel went to the Warriors 83-76, and I see this maybe playing out a little bit differently. I mean, Lincoln Trail is sliding a little bit while Wabash Valley is playing some good basketball. It's just going to be one of these games where who has the hotter hand, and I think with Lincoln Trail having to play Wednesday That helps them a little bit because they won't be as tired, they won't be as rusty. While Wabash Valley has to have all week off and then having to play Saturday. So I will give the edge to Lincoln Trail a little bit. However, I think that Wabash can win this game if they are able to knock down some shots. It's possible. However, I just see it favoring the Statesmen because they are the home team. Then you have Vincennes traveling to Shawnee to take on the Saints. In this one, I think... it's hard to go against Vincennes in those gold uniforms that they've been wearing in this 15-game win streak for them. The first meeting between these two teams back on January 13th, Vincennes won 89-50. And again, that was in the middle of their 15-game win streak, while Shawnee, on the other hand, has struggled at times. They are in the middle of a win streak of their own at 3 games, with the last 3 being huge, with Kaskaskia, Olney, and Lincoln Trail. The biggest thing is how they play against Lincoln Trail on Wednesday. And again, I think that Lincoln Trail has the advantage in that game just because of how close Saturday's game between the two teams were. I think Vincennes has the advantage here because of how dominant they were back in Vincennes. Now, with that being said, Shawnee seems to be playing better on their home floor than they do away, naturally. But again, it's just been one of those things where Vincennes has to pick up a quality road win, and I think they can do it. They looked a little shaky the last time they were out on the road against Kaskaskia, but that means that they're due for a big victory here. And again, it's one of these games where I think Vincennes is going to win. They have the history of winning on the road against Shawnee here, but Shawnee has a chance to make a huge ripple in this thing if they pull out a victory against Vincennes. It snaps a 15-game win streak for the Trailblazers and knocks them out of the top 10 in the National Junior College rankings, and it gets them 1 game closer to being in the number 1 overall spot if Shawnee can pull out the victory. Then you have Olney Central traveling to SWIC, and this is very interesting because SWIC would not have had a consistent day off because of the games that they've played Monday, Wednesday, Saturday last week, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday this week, and I think at some point it's going to catch up to you. Do I think it will be against Olney? Probably not, but Olney has played good basketball the last 2 games. Yes, they lost 100-73 against Lakeland, but they were in that game for the first half. With only having Wednesday off and SWIC having to play Monday and Wednesday, I think the lactic acid gets to SWIC a little bit. It has to at some point, right? At some point, Olney has to win a game. I don't see why it can't be here. I do think it's a huge hill to climb. And for those reasons, I do think SWIC will pull out the victory. They won 94-72 last Monday. And again, it's just one of those things where I don't want to have what we had last year in a Lincoln Trail situation where a team went winless. That's why I push for Olney in so many of these recaps, in these previews. But in all fairness, I do think SWIC's going to win this game. I think it will be closer because of how many games they've had to play and how many high-stress situations they've been in. They lost to Rend Lake by 4. They lost before they beat Olney. They lost to Wabash Valley by 1. They lost to Vincennes handily, and they're handling Brescia right now at the half. So it's all about what they do in this ballgame against Olney, but I do think that they will pull out the victory. And finally, you have John A. Logan hosting Lakeland College. The first time between these two teams, John A. Logan won 88-86 on the 13th of January. And I mean, yes, John A. has played better after their win against Kaskaskia. They did lose to Wabash Valley, so they split that season series. I think Lakeland can do it. I think Lakeland can pull out the upset in Carterville and pull out a victory here and possibly overtake John A. for second place in district standings. It's going to be very, very close like the first game was. I think that it's finally time for Lakeland to do it. Now, with that being said, both teams don't play Wednesday because of the scheduled day off in the middle of the week. So it's going to be who's fresher, who's coming off of a bigger high. Logan is coming off of a win against Kaskaskia after 2 straight losses, while Lakeland has come off some big wins. So, like I said, I think Lakeland will win this game, but I think it will be as close as the first game was in Mattoon, which was a 2-point victory for John A. I say it's a 2-point victory this time for the Lakers. And that's going to do it for this week's episode, everybody. Once again, it's getting down to the nitty-gritty. We only have 3 full weeks of matchups left in this 2024-2025 season. So I'll bring it out to you, the audience, once we hit district tournament play. What do you want to see happen? Do you want me to let the district tournament play out the entire week like I did last year? Or do you want me to come in and do game-by-game breakdowns? I'm starting this now instead of the last day before district tournament play. I will bring it to you all. What should I do as we get ready for district play this week? It's a shorter week because of the scheduled in snow cancellation games potential. So once again, 3 full weeks left of NJCAA basketball here for the Central District before we head to Ina and the tournament there. That's going to do it for this episode, everybody. I will see you all in the next one. Peace.